Hello, hello, and welcome to this another short video on JavaScript. We are discussing the classes from the last video. From the last video, we studied a bit about prototype and how prototype-based object-oriented programming is done in JavaScript. And we will continue that with some examples. We will further look into prototypes and how we can create prototypes using two different methods this time. We will also introduce constructor functions and learn something new. So let us look at this function range. It takes two arguments from and to, and then it creates an object R. Now, the argument to object.create is range.methods. That means that this object R, or rather I should say R's prototype, will be set to range.methods. We have chosen this name just because this includes only methods. Usually it is prototype. Okay. Now, once the object is created, we set from to r.from and to r.to, and we return the object R. If you look at range.methods, it has one method includes x, which has a comparison that x should be greater than from and less than to. And then we have an iterator. If you remember our iterator discussion of symbol.iterator class, which we studied, then you will remember this. So typically iterators have a star in the beginning of them. So we have this iterator and it starts from this dot from the ceiling of this dot from. So it counts the next integer and it should be less than equal to this dot 2 and it yields x. We also have a toString function so that we can easily present it into string form. Now, if you see the object creation, then we call the function range to create the object because that is what is returning our R object. And we give it from is equal to 1 and 2 is equal to 3. Now, if we test for includes, does the range include 2, then it will be true. And then we print the range form or string form of the object, which will invoke toString. And then we print the array R, which will use the iterator over here. So all three functions are covered in this way. Okay. Now this is one way, or rather the old way of creating objects. It will still work because backward compatibility is maintained. Now we will look at constructor based object creation. This is prototype based. Here, both will be prototype based, but there will be certain differences. Now we call this function range, and as the last range is small range, this was small r and this is capital R. So constructor names are usually capitalized. So it takes from and to like this one, but instead of r dot, we say this dot from and this dot to. When the function is invoked, the object is already created and we assign from and to that object. Now, how do you know that the object is created? So you invoke new.target here. And if this is true, then object is constructed. This may be true also in a constructor of a subclass. Now, the thing is that if it is undefined, an object is not constructed. Okay, or it is not a constructor function. Now here we did not assign prototype here. There is no prototype done yet, but the range constructor will automatically have something called range.prototype, which we assign the similar functions which we did in the previous range function. And we invoke the three functions just like that. Notice the difference over here that R1 object is created using new creation because constructor itself does not create the object here. So we use new method to create the object of the range function, capital R that is. And then we invoke these three functions as well. So let's look at the output a bit. So we invoke node space classes. This is classes one.js. And then we have the output as expected. So you see that new.target for us was defined, that meaning that it is in the constructor of the function. Okay, that is one thing. Now let me comment this part out. We don't want this. And we don't want this. Okay. We want this, okay. Give me a minute to edit the code. Okay. Now, if you look at object R1, then it is an instance of range. This is an operator, as you can figure from the color. So this is a range, instance of range. So does this mean it is talking about the class? Then the answer is no. It is talking about the prototype. Whatever it means that R1 inherits from range dot prototype. It is not talking about the constructor of the object. For example, suppose we have a function strange and we set the prototype of the function constructor strange to range dot prototype over here. Okay. And then we print new strange is instance of range. Then this will also be true. So both these instance of will be true. Similarly, not similarly, a different thing is that if you look at range dot methods is prototype of the old one, range is prototype of R. So if we don't need to comment this out, we need this one. Okay. Now this will be also true. So you see, in JavaScript, prototype is what matters when you are talking of instance of. So these three console.log statements show us clearly that R1 inherits from range.prototype. That becomes very clear when we compare new.range, new strange object is a prototype of range. And also range.methods is prototype of R will be true. So let's see this in action. Okay. We say no, the process one dot this, and you see that it is true 3 times. The object will be constructed for this one R1 and not R1 strange. Okay, so this will also invoke the wait R1 will be constructed and that will create the object constructed. Hang on, let me check. Object constructed was part of range. Okay, so this call will print the object constructed and then the remaining three statements are true. So the summary is that from this is that we continue the same theme of prototype based inheritance in JavaScript. The object-oriented programming revolves around the prototype object. One more thing you observe that ES6 does not allow us to use arrow functions for methods of prototype. Okay, because arrow functions, if they are anonymous, then they won't have any name and two functions will collide. Also, there are problems related to this pointer when using the arrow functions. Okay. So for that reason, arrow functions are not allowed, which we have covered earlier that whether arrow functions inherit from this or not. So that is a question you should revise. And if you have not watched earlier videos or you don't know the answer of that question, then you should watch the previous videos in the playlist and the answer will be found to you. Now, I want to draw your attention to my website. punjika.astralock.org. You can come here and ask questions to me. There is a tag here. You need a login to ask questions. So you can use the tag JavaScript to ask questions to me about JavaScript, and I'll be more than happy to answer your question. So earlier, if you see my beginning videos, I had a website called qa.libraprogramming.org. That website does not exist anymore, and this is the replacement of that. So you can come and ask questions here, and I'll be most happy to answer your question. So with this, I will end this video here, and I'll see you in the next one after 4 days, where we will further discuss constructors and what we can do with constructors and various other things about constructors and classes in general. So thanks a lot for watching the video, and stay curious, keep learning, and most importantly, enjoy.